Okay, so I'm hopping on to do some free live readings. Let me just move my microphone a little. Okay, I think that's good. I hope you can hear me okay. Okay, a preliminary shuffle. Let's burn some Palo Santo. And once we get some smoke on these cards, we can start reading. I'm just doing some free 3 card readings today. All right. So I've got some smoke going and I'm ready to do a little more shuffling. And if anyone has a question, I'm here to read for you. Hello, Ascending Universal Butterfly. Welcome. You are the first one today. So I'd be happy to read for you. If you'd like to put your question in the chat. I'm doing great today, thanks. Yeah, it's just a chill day at home. I've got a cup of vanilla chai tea and my cards out and a cozy sweater on, and it's raining. I'm great. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, message from your galactic team. Cool. We can do that. So, let me think a minute. just trying to decide, I'm not sure how many, I'm not sure how busy it's gonna be today because it's like a Sunday and it's in the afternoon and I don't know. Um, I've only been on 5 minutes, but I haven't seen many. So I guess what I'm wondering is I'm kind of considering doing like a 9-card spread for you. It'll take more time, but, you popped right in here right away. So, I think I'll do a 9-card box spread. I love to do those, and, so I think I'll do that. A 9-card box spread for Ascending Universal Butterfly about what the message is, from your galactic team. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do this. 9 cards for Ascending Universal Butterfly. Knight of Swords, Judgment, 10 of Cups, King of Cups, Jupiter. This would be the Pope or the Hierophant in another deck. 2 Cups, Knight of Wands, Four Swords, and Juno. That would be the High Priestess or Popess in another deck. Okay, let me take a sip of tea and then let's look at these cards. Okay, some interesting stuff in here. The first thing, obviously, that jumps out to me is the center card, Jupiter, which in another deck would be the Hierophant or the Pope. And the first thing that comes to mind is learning, like seeking out advice or counsel from others in order to grow. The second thing that pops right out at me is the column on the right is filled with cups and has got the second major arcana, the Juno or High Priestess or Popess in it. So you sort of got like the Pope and the Popess, or the Hierophant and the High Priestess, both in this spread, and they're meeting at the Two of Cups, right? As though they're like there's a partnership between them. And so that jumps out at me as being a really interesting part of the image, right? So I think there might be something here about partnering up with someone else in order to learn in some way, learn something. Um, I don't think that this is necessarily like a relationship, like a romantic kind of relationship, because I don't usually think of these two figures as getting together in like a romantic way, but getting together in a way that is deep and meaningful to them both absolutely makes sense to me. You've also got a couple of knights over here of swords and wands. And so that is it's in the past, right? It's in the leftmost column. And so that suggests that you have been putting in a lot of effort, taking a lot of action to develop yourself. Uh, but that's there's going to be a change with it. Um, Not that you won't continue to develop, but it's going to develop in a new way, right? Like on a new level, which takes me up here to judgment. Judgment is about waking up, um, rising to the call, answering a call, finding a calling, hearing something, calling you from heaven or wherever, the internet, maybe wherever it is, and saying, "Hey, don't forget you need to do this thing," right? And so I see you from being called by judgment um, over here to like join up and form a partnership that's going to be satisfying and fulfilling. So those are the first preliminary things I notice when I look at this box spread, just put a sort of glancing at it. We can read the cards in a more structured, pedestrian way to try to draw out some nuances. So let me look at that. Okay, so like if we look, for example, at the corners give us the outer context of your current situation. Maybe there's something that's been irking you a little bit. So when I see Knight of Swords, I always think, what is poking at you, right? Maybe like you feel like you could be going in the wrong direction for something, but this isn't a problem that's going to hinder you greatly because if we look at the corners, it's followed by 10 cups, which is like, who doesn't want the 10 of cups? That's one of the best cards. It's the happiness card, right? Uh, Juno, meaning um, keeping a record, writing, thinking, having knowledge, gaining knowledge, uh, and Knight of Wands. So it's saying, like, whatever problem is currently bothering you, you're going to easily get over it. You don't need to worry about it. You will have to put some effort into it and gain some knowledge about it, but like this problem's in the past. So it's whatever it is you're thinking about that might be troubling you, don't worry about it too much because it's going to be fine. That's the outer circumstance. If we look at the cards in the center, Judgment, King of Cups, Two of Cups, and then the Four of Swords down here, you're being asked to rise up to a new level. There's something you need to be listening to, and maybe you haven't heard it yet. And it has to do with, on the one hand, not just um, being being fulfilled on your own, but sharing your fulfillment with others, right? And this may present you with some restrictions or little problems that might be bothersome, but it is something that you need to work on. There's something here about joining up with others, right? And the reason I see this is King of Cups is very satisfied sitting on the throne with his cup, right? When his cup joins with someone else's so that the two people are getting together, and again, I'm not talking about a romance, I'm just talking about a partnership of some kind, right? Two people toasting their glasses together, right? This is what's coming for you in the future. And so you're being asked to rise up to it with judgment. But uh, it might put some restrictions on you, but those restrictions will provide opportunities for you to grow. Let's look at the rows across. And the way I tend to read these is what you're thinking at the top, what you're facing, what you're up against in the middle, and then what you have control over but may not be aware of on the bottom, right? So on the top, um, you're thinking about rising up and overcoming some trouble and looking forward to the future where things are going to be peaceful and happy and wonderful. That's your 10 of Cups moment over here. Um, one other way of thinking about that, possibly, 10 of Cups often is read, and I have been just reading it now, as happiness, right? Sometimes it can also mean too much feeling. Right, like 10 is the most cups you can have, and so may in the tarot, and so it could be a sense of being overwhelmed by feeling. That is possible too, and I see that potentially here with the Judgment, where, like, if you feel like you are being asked to do something that involves you being sort of changed in some way, transformed, that's going to change a little bit of your personality, so to speak, that might result in some feelings of, like, being a little overwhelmed by emotion, right? 10 of Cups can be like, you had too much, right? There's too much of it, like you're drowning in emotion. That is another possible, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, being overwhelmed by happiness, that sounds great, right? But if you're overwhelmed, by other emotions, it might weigh on you as opposed to feeling liberating, for example. So this is like what's in your mind, as opposed to what's happening in reality. What's happening in actuality, what you're really up against here, or what you're facing. See how these two figures are alone, and I'm reading these as two moments of the same figure, right? So like this is you sort of in the past as the King of Cups with your cup up in your hand, happy, warm, satisfied, going with the flow, things are pretty good, right? But then in the center card, Jupiter, you've still got you're still sitting on your throne. You've still got your crown on. You're no longer wearing armor, right? And so maybe you're feeling a little like you are needing to be vulnerable, and you don't have your cup up in the air anymore. It's over here. It's joining up with someone else's cup. There's a kind of cooperation with someone that is coming. I don't think it's here yet because it's in the future column, but it's coming. And then on the bottom, this is what you have control over, but maybe are not aware of. It's a kind of unconscious, potentially unconscious ability that you have. And it's Knight of Wands, which is developing things in a practical way, right? Like getting things done. Great. But running up against restrictions or some obstacles. So, like your flowers trying to grow, but there are some fences around it. And that's maybe making it tough at the moment to advance. But, seeing this card on the bottom row makes me think these fences may not be real, right? They're not in the level of reality. They might be unconscious, right? So, like unconscious behaviors or patterns that you might be putting up restrictions on that are keeping this whoever is represented by this Juno figure, high priestess or uh, popess, and in this deck, Juno. Um, right, this is a figure of secret knowledge. This is a hidden secret that is in the future. It's needs to come out, right? And it's not there yet, right? But it's coming. All right. I could look at other interactions between the cards, but I think I can kind of sum things up at this point. And so let me do that, which is to say, I think the major things that I see here are a sense that you have got a lot of thoughts, or rather feelings, that are sort of going around in your mind, and so there might be some feeling a little overwhelmed at what's coming next for you. And there might be some unconscious restrictions that you're not totally aware of, but you really do have control over them if they can sort of be brought to the surface. And these things combined are potentially limiting you from making really deep and fulfilling partnerships with others. Right. And so that's what I would say is, like, sort of go outside of your comfort zone, even if it feels emotionally overwhelming, to make um, authentic connections with others for the purposes of knowledge and learning. Right. That's what I would say. So that's the message I think that you should take from this is, like, even if it's uncomfortable or feels outside of what you're used to, partnerships with others can enhance uh, your knowledge of tradition, right? Your education might even be a way of putting it, right? This fifth card of the major arcana can be the figure of the teacher often. Okay, so let me look at the chat because I haven't peeked at it lately. Hi, other folks who might have joined recently. Welcome. Uh, Poppy Cave. I don't know if you're here at the moment. Poppy Cave, hello. SK GJ8MD, hello. Uh, Audria Price, hello to you. Ete N5D, hello to you. So let's see, what did Ascending Universal Butterfly say as I was reading? Forming an interesting pathway with this wonderful reading, fitting the pieces of the puzzle together. It resonates the lovely rascals around you, testing and trying to trigger. If you've got rascals around you, that's absolutely the Four of Swords. They're like little troubles that won't go away, right? Like your four corners are covered with this sort of annoying little thing. It's not that bad with the Four of Swords, but it's like, four I think of as stability, and then swords I think of as troubles. And so it's like stable troubles. They don't really go away, right? So those could be whoever those lovely rascals around you are. Yeah. Okay, you say you do a lot of courses in learning. You have a handle on what they try to do. All my ducks are positioned in a row, very deep, and each card fell so perfectly in my heart. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's a nice little spread here. Um, and, I love to see 10 of cups, 2 of cups, and Juno here in your future column is like happiness through a partnership that involves some secret knowledge, right? Some hidden knowledge. That's what's coming for your future, according to this spread. Okay, so let's see who is next on my list. If Poppy Cave is here, you were the next to ask to be added. And then after that is SK. Yeah, I didn't say it when I was doing your reading Ascending Universal Butterfly, but I just thought like, because then you said that you take a lot of courses and do a lot of learning, and so I'm thinking like, is there a classmate that you could partner up with in some way? I don't know if they're like in-person classes or online classes, although I guess it doesn't really matter, right? But just because when I see that Jupiter and Juno, the Hierophant and the High Priestess together, I think like when these two get together, they have all the knowledge there is. They have all the traditional knowledge, institutional knowledge, and they have all the secret knowledge. They have all the like hidden esoteric knowledge together. Those two cards, represent different kinds of knowledge. One that's like approved and sanctified, and then another that's like maybe kind of taboo. So next is, I don't see, next is Poppy Cave, if Poppy Cave is here. And then after Poppy Cave is SK. So I don't think Poppy Cave is here. So SK, if you want to post your question, you can do that. Okay, so your name is Shrey, and you are asking what are Pia's feelings and thoughts for you. Okay, so we'll do a 3-card spread to figure out what Pia thinks and feels about you. And just for a little context, is Pia a romantic love interest? Got it. You have a crush on her, but you're not like currently dating, or you haven't dated in the past. Okay. Classmates in college. All right, got it. Let's pull 3 cards and see what Pia thinks. Here we go. All right, Death card's the first one down. Don't be afraid of that, though. Magician. 4 coins, and then because the Death card is looking at something, I need to know what that is, so I'm gonna lay a 4th card. And it's the 5 of Cups. All right, let me take a sip of tea and look at these, and then I'll read them. Okay. Some interesting thoughts here. We're reading this spread from her perspective because you asked what she thinks and what she feels. Let's start with the maybe not so comfortable stuff first. Whenever I see the Magician card, especially when we're talking about any kind of relationships between people, romantic or otherwise, I think that this is a kind of street performer, right? Like a busker, or like a 3-card Monte guy on the streets of New York, that kind of thing. And so this is someone, she thinks of you, in other words, as someone who's fun, who's interesting to like entertaining. She's interested, she is paying attention, but she also maybe isn't sure she can trust you, if that makes sense. It's not like she doesn't trust you, it's that she doesn't know yet if she can, right? So that's the first thing that stands out to me. It's like, this guy's got his table with all of his tricks and um, boxes and everything, but there's a tablecloth, and like, what's down there? What's under there? She doesn't know, and so she's like interested, and she's maybe looking, but like out of the corner of her eye because she's not sure what you're up to. Let's put it that way, right? Uh, Seeing the death card here, the death card it has their scythe, and they are getting ready to chop away at these 5 cups, right? And so the 5 cups could be acquaintances, friends, like people who you have some kind of relationship with, or I guess it would be that she has some kind of relationship with. But, like if you think of her as the center cup, then she's got these links with other people. And so, is there any way that she could think that if she were to get closer to you, it would involve cutting away some other relationship or friendship, or maybe I don't know, maybe she has some other romantic interest. I don't know if that's possible. But it's like if she's gonna get closer to you, she has to cut away these cups, and she's maybe not sure that that's something that she wants to do, right? Especially if she's not sure yet, what your intentions are, like what you're up to, right? She just doesn't know yet. Um, so this is something that, if you're wanting to get closer to this person, that is something that you would want to address is her thinking that she would need to cut off like friends in order to get close to you, and then she's not sure would that be worth it because she's not sure if she can trust you. But here's the good stuff. Not that this was all bad, but here's like something else to add. The 4 of coins ends the string of cards, the line of cards, right? And so 4 of coins is like she sees you as someone who's stable, who's got their stuff together, so to speak, right? Like all your corners are covered with something valuable, right? Like you've got a stable mind, you get your work done, you do what you're supposed to do, um, you she doesn't have to worry about you like being impulsive or impetuous. If anything, there might be a sense that like you're you're I'm trying to think of the right word. Because I don't want to say boring, but like too set in your ways. That might be a way of putting it, right? The person who is represented by a 4 of coins is steady and stable, but also may not be willing to let go of things or be a little crazy or wild in order to grow or change or be different, right? And coins, while they're valuable, aren't always the most interesting or exciting thing, right? So, um, I wouldn't say that she has any bad feelings towards you. I think that she mostly doesn't know what to think of you because, on the one hand, it seems as though um, she might have to sacrifice friendships or links with others, or links with others to get closer to you. And while you seem stable and you've got some valuable qualities, she's not sure what might be going on beneath the surface, right? And so it's not certain, she's not like sure at the moment whether or not it would be sort of worth that. So, I mean, you didn't ask this, but like if you wanted advice about how to go forward with this kind of situation, uh, reassuring her or if it's possible to do this, finding a way of reassuring her that um, that you wouldn't ever come between her and her other friends, for example. I think that would make her feel good. And then if there's a way that she could get a better sense of who you are so that you don't seem so sort of secretive or magical or tricky or like unsure, um, she just needs to sort of get to know you better, I think, and feel reassured that you wouldn't come between her and her friends. So that's what I would say to you, Shrey, about this other person, Pia's thoughts and feelings towards you. All right. And so looking up at my list, Poppy, if you're here, Poppy, and then Audria Price. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking through the list to find who's requested. Priya Ete. Okay. Whoops. PPJJ. Okay. Let me look. Any other message do I see from her? Maybe what she's thinking lately of you, because I felt she started noticing me recently in class with eyes. Yeah, I mean, I think she notices you too, uh, especially with this magician card, right? Like, I think she notices you, but she's not sure what to do because she doesn't know you like well enough to. And there's a little bit of a feeling that it would be a risk on her part to get closer to you, right? Like, um, because there's this sense of, with the 5 of Cups and Death, there's this sense that, like, she'd have to cut something important, some important relationship out. And so the first thought that came to mind when I saw the 5 of Cups was that these represent other friends of hers, right? Um, it could, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm thinking of other, like, I'm permuting through other possible interpretations of the card, and I think that's the one that makes the most sense. Um, so is she thinking about you? Yes. And she's interested. She's making eyes, as you say, and she sees value in you, right, with the 4 of Coins. She's just not certain whether or not getting closer to you would be worth it. Here's another way to think of it. 5, she feels like she would have to cut out 5 cups, and what would she get for it? She'd get 4 coins. 4 is less than 5, right? So she feels like until she gets to know you better, having to cut out other relationships, or even it's just, in the same way that, like, when you start dating someone, you have less time for your friends, right? Um, it's kind of a sad fact, right? Like, we all have the same amount of time in the day. And so if you're spending more time with one person, you're spending less with another, unless it's a group thing. But when you're dating, it usually isn't. So she feels like she would have to lose 5 cups. And would she get something valuable? She sure would, but one less than what she had, right? And it would be 4 coins in exchange for 5 cups, if that makes sense. Just because 4 is less than 5. Okay, so my list at the moment is Poppy, Audria Price, Ete, and PPJJ. You're welcome, SK. You're very welcome. So if Poppy is here, I can read for you. I think I've called your name several times. So if I don't hear from you, I'm going to cross you off the list, Poppy. Otherwise, Audria Price would be next. So Audria or Poppy, this is your chance if you're here. Just let me know in the chat. And if you're not here, then Ete and 5D is next. All right, Ete and 5D, you got it. You're looking at a month ahead reading for the month of December. All right, I'm just going to update my list real quick. So we've got Mark. I'm going to put you on the list. So I'll do Ete's reading, then PPJJ, and then Mark is next. But right now, we're going to do a month ahead reading for Ete. And I think what I'd like to do is actually another 9-card box spread. I prefer those for month ahead readings, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, here we go. Ten rods or batons. Strength. The Ace of Batons. The Tower. Ace of Swords. Queen of Batons. A lot of batons. 9 swords. The Empress. and 10 swords. Oh man. This is going to be a month of extremes for you. You've got aces and you've also got tens. You've got two aces and you've got two tens. Wow. You've got 10 ace of batons and 10 ace of swords. So this is going to be a month of very fast changes, very fast. Because 10 to 1 or 1 to 10 is the quickest move we can go. We've got the 9 of swords over here. Whoops. But quick changes happening for you. That's the very first thing that I notice. I mean, we're asking about December, and so I don't know where you're from or anything like that, but it's holidays in much of the world, right? And the holiday season, that's just the first thing that comes to mind is like holidays can be tough for a lot of people. And so, oh, you're in California. Me too. Yeah. So, California in December, around the holidays, it can be a lot. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. So let's look at these cards. And the first thing I'll do is, the first card that comes up in the spread makes me think of like what you're wanting, right? And so 10 batons makes me think that in the month of December, you're going to want to be bringing a project to an end. And you're going to be putting a lot of effort into it. You might also have a lot of pressure up against you, especially because we're looking at the 10. So it's about completing like a work project, or if it's not a work project, uh, it could be anything that you're putting effort into, right? And what's I think going to happen here is reading the top sort of row is this project is going to be completed and then you're going to start a new one. That's the 10 to the 1. Uh, it could be because there's a problem with it, right? Like it could be that you have to restart it. And I say that because the 1 to the 10 and the 9, that's just a lot of swords down here. And 10 of swords, I think of as it can be exhaustion, right? And 9 of swords can be needing very much the courage to like keep pushing on. And so like I don't know what your work situation might be. If I don't have context and I see batons, the first thing I think is work, but could be other things. And so it's like a big project is coming to an end. Oh, but then you've got a new one starting and it's followed by in the corners a whole bunch of swords, right? And so that's the outer context of like what the month is going to have. That's the outer context in the corners. If we look then at these 4 cards, Strength, Tower, Queen of Wands, and the Empress, this gives us the inner structuring of what's going to be happening during the month. And so Strength is saying like you're going to be strong. You're going to have the force to overcome the problems that you're up against, right? So um, it's not as though you will have challenges and you will overcome them. Okay. And one of these challenges may look like involving a tower moment, something you've been working on kind of falls apart. And that again brings me back to this 10 to 1 of batons. Something you've been working on didn't turn out maybe the way you thought. And so you like have to bring it back down to foundations in order to rebuild it in some way. But you can do that. And the Queen of Wands says you will have the patience and understanding to do that. The Queen of Wands grabs her baton, right? And she's like, all right, back to square one. Let's keep going, right? And she makes progress on it to the point where she gets to sit down. I mean, think of the Queen is standing, but she levels up, becomes the Empress, right? Like regardless of gender, it's like um, the figure is standing, and then the figure gets to sit down and like um, sort of take a little breather, right? The the difference I think between the Queen of Wands and the Empress here is the Queen of Wands is like the working person who's very patient with her work, and you're going to need patience, strength, and patience, I'd say. Um, the Empress is the sort of person, she knows when to act and when not to. So here's my first sort of suggestion for you for December. You're going to need to be strong in the face of some setbacks, but don't feel that you just need to constantly work. Sometimes you just should sit down, right? Like sometimes if you try to rebuild something too quickly, you actually end up doing more work than you need to. And so restraint and just saying like, "You know what? I'm going to sit down for a minute." Do that. I think that will serve you well in the coming month. So that's my first suggestion based on the cards I see. All right. Um, let's read the rose. What's going to be in your mind, what you're thinking about, is how you need to struggle, have a productive struggle against the pressures you're under in order to sort of focus them down into something that's more manageable from 10 to 1. What's happening, what you're actually going to be doing or what you're going to be up against, that's the middle row. And so some structure is going to end, right? Something that's been built is going to end. And this could be a project you're working on. That's the first thing that comes to mind because of all the batons. But I also think with the tower and the fact that it's December, the tower can also mean like the end of, when I say end of structure, it can be like end of a routine, right? So with the end of the year coming, it could be like putting projects to bed or ending a semester or finishing a quarter or like whatever it might be, whether it's at work or school or whatever you might be doing. And so your whole routine gets toppled. Your whole routine gets toppled and you have to sort of reestablish it, work to reestablish it in the face of this Ace of Swords. So we haven't talked about the Ace of Swords, which is at the center of the whole thing. And the Ace of Swords classically is the card of decision, right? Having to make a decision. The sword pierces the crown, and the crown is on the head, right? And so we might think like something needs to get cut, right? Something needs to get chopped. There needs to be a decisive blow, so to speak. So, uh, in addition to all the work you're going to be doing, which is kind of, as I said, an outer context, right? Like the batons are all on the outside. What's on the inside is, or at the center, at the heart of the spread, is this Ace of Swords, which is like one way of saying this is like cut out the bullshit. I don't know if I should swear on YouTube. Does anybody care? um, but like cut out whatever is unnecessary in the work you're doing. So, like maybe all these 10 batons that you're struggling with, maybe you don't need to, right? Maybe you just need to find the one that really matters and focus on it. That's one thing that comes to mind. Down here, we've got what is unconscious, but that you also potentially have control over if you can become aware of it. And there's a lot of swords down here. So this makes me think of a lot of unconscious trouble, anxiety, or pain. Uh, and you said you're finishing a semester. So I assume then you're a student. And having been a student for many years of my life, that resonates with me, right? Like, sitting in your chair, maybe just to take a break because you are surrounded on all sides by as many swords as this deck could possibly show, 9 on one side and 10 on the other. And so I think by the end of the month, you're going to be exhausted. And that's there may be there's not a whole lot you can do about that, but something like it wouldn't be fair of me to say like, "Oh, just cut out the BS and do what really matters." Like, okay, but if you're a student, you've got like 5 different professors and they all want something different, and maybe you're working a job and you have a home life and you have to do laundry and make sure there's groceries and like so on the one hand, like focus on what you can what you can cut out if there is anything that you can cut out, but also just acknowledge that like sometimes at the end of a semester in December you're going to be exhausted and um, just be aware of that, right? Uh, so that would be my second piece of advice, right? If there's anything that you can cut out from your routine that isn't serving you, do it. But also acknowledge that even if you do that, it's still probably going to be an exhausting month where things are moving very quickly, right? So rest when you can and acknowledge that sometimes, not always, and like don't procrastinate and don't avoid doing things. But sometimes it's a really good idea from Queen of Wands to Empress. Sometimes it's a really good idea to just say, I need to take a break. I'm going to sit down in this chair. I'm going to look ahead, but I'm not going to be on my feet anymore right now. Um, Not because you're procrastinating, not because you're avoiding things, but because you're intentionally taking a break so that then you can get back to doing the good, real work you need to do later. Okay. All right. So that let me wrap it up there for that reading. I'm just taking one more glance at it. The one last thing I would say if we read diagonally is this is an opportunity for you to be courageous in the face of great change, in the face of the tower falling down, in the face of feeling like there's things are turning into a disaster, right? On the one hand. And on the other hand, um, from 10 batons to 10 swords, modified by Queen of Wands. Um, Completing all of the things that you need to complete is going to totally exhaust you. Your batons are going to turn into swords. So be patient with yourself. Be patient. Okay, let me look at my list here and see. PPJJ will be next. You're very welcome, Ete. Good luck with the end of the semester. December's a tough time. End of projects, holidays, family stuff can come up. Okay, PPJJ, welcome. If you'd like to post your question, I'd be happy to read for you. Okay, so the question is, could you please tell me what I could do to improve my overall social life? I feel like I have nobody to rely on except myself. Oh, and it's a very lonely feeling. Okay. Yes, I can definitely do that reading. What do you need to do to improve your overall social life? Okay, so I'm going to lay 3 cards for this, but I think I'm probably gonna pull 2 more and make a cross, spread to answer this question. Okay, first card down, Justice. 2 coins. Mm, the Chariot. So these cards are describing your current situation with regard to your social life. And so here are some thoughts that I have based on seeing these. With Justice, I suspect there might be some overthinking going on. Justice is about wanting to make sure that you come to the right decision and having structure for how you make your decisions, which is all great. Weighing the evidence, they've got the balance, the scales here, and being prepared to make a decision, but taking a lot of time with it and potentially too much time, right? Like justice is very, very slow. This is a very, very slow card. Justice is. And so is there any possible way in which in your current social environment you may not be jumping at opportunities quickly enough, or you might be overthinking them? You might be too much in your head deliberating, should I do this? Should I do that? That kind of thing. And I think that not only because of justice, but because then we see the two coins, right? As though there's a duality of mind, like a question about what needing to make a choice about what is it that you really value, right? Coins are about value. They represent value or values, things that are important to you. And it's like your mind is maybe kind of divided, right? Um, and so maybe you're not sure, like, what is it that you really want in a social life? And maybe there's a sense of feeling divided between like um, whether you should invest yourself in others, right? And then the chariot here is interesting because it's like justice gets kind of stuck in their head, right? Their mind is divided, and then they drive off like the chariot is about going away, or to something. But I wonder here if there's like, is there any way in which before you get a chance to know someone, you're already gone, you've already moved on, so to speak, right? So these cards are describing your current situation of your social life. What I'll do now, because that's not what you asked. You didn't ask what's going on. You asked what could you do to improve your social life? And so that's how I'll answer your question now. We've described it. We'll place 2 more cards, one above the center card and one below. The card on top will be what you should do, and the card on bottom, what you should avoid doing. And we'll read those 2 cards in terms of one another to make a cross. Okay, so here's what you should do: 5 swords. So you need to have a breakthrough. And what you should not do. Okay, this is easy. Here I would read this is the Ace of Cups, and traditionally this card is the card of the home, the house, right? What's familiar to you. And so this is saying really clearly you're gonna have to, what you should do to improve your social life is to have a breakthrough of your restrictions in a way that might feel pretty uncomfortable. Swords are uncomfortable. They can hurt, you know, and they can also protect, right? But swords are it's a weapon. A sword is a weapon, and so you need to be like this sword in the middle that is breaking through these other four swords, right? So if you've got restrictions that you've placed on yourself that are preventing your social life from improving in ways that you're maybe kind of unsure about, but you wouldn't be asking this question if you didn't want something to change, right? And so you need a breakthrough, right? What you do not need is to stay home. What you do not need is this cup that tastes so good and it's warm and it's comforting and you love your cup and you want to be with your cup and it's comfortable. And so this is really clearly indicating like if you want to improve your social life, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. It's going to feel weird, uh, but like you can't grow if you're comfortable. If you're comfortable, it's because things are steady and it's the way you're used to them. And sometimes that's great. I mean, who doesn't want that? But if you're always comfortable, then nothing's ever going to change, right? And if you're looking around and saying, this is not enough for me, I want to change, then you're going to have to get uncomfortable, right? Um, so let me look at the chat and see what we've got here. In your head, you're very rigid in following a pattern. Yes. And this confirms that. As well, both of these cards, Justice and Five of Swords, I'd say confirms that, right? Like I would almost say with the Five of Swords, it can be like to the point of even being maybe a little obsessive about following your structures, your restrictions, your patterns, right? And so break out of that. Uh, let's see exactly what you do. Run away. Yeah. So like if you run away because it feels overwhelming, that's the Chariot. Like let yourself feel a little overwhelmed, right? Allow yourself to be in that uncomfortable position for a while with other people. Yeah, like if that includes, you say making eye contact sometimes feels overwhelming to the point where I just feel like throwing up. Okay, I that makes sense to me, and you're saying that makes me think also with the Five of Swords, the Five of Swords can be a card of illness or sickness, and in this position up here at the top of the cross, it's almost saying like, if you wanna have your breakthrough, you might have to it might be so uncomfortable that you sorta get sick, right? Not forever, but like as a temporary thing to sort of break through so that you're not stuck at your Ace of Cups moment, right? Okay, so that those would be my suggestions to you, and I hope they're I hope they're useful. And I think next on the list is Mark, if Mark is here. Yeah, baby steps, that's right. Baby steps and literally, like, think about how uncomfortable a baby must be when learning to walk. Every step, they can fall, right? And so it is uncomfortable, and that's what you sort of have to get used to too, is, like, baby steps that might be uncomfortable. Whoa, Mark, your question is so interesting. Mark asks, what is the relationship between my personal journey and the symbolic transformations the nation or world is going through? That's a huge question. I mean, I love it. I'm just trying to think. Do you mind if I ask if you're in the US or another country? Just because you mentioned nation. I really think I need a 9-card spread for this. I just don't think 3 is going to cut it because it's such a big question. So we're going to do 9 cards for Mark. What is the relationship between Mark's personal journey and the symbolic transformations that the nation or world is going through? Okay, we won't specify a nation. That's cool. So we'll leave it open as what is the relationship between your own personal journey and the symbolic transformations globally? Okay, here we go. Let's see. So the first card down is Jupiter in this deck. This would be the Hierophant or the Pope in another deck. And first card down always makes me think of like what your own agenda or what you want, right? Something about the querent's desire. And so I think here of wisdom, knowledge, maybe advice or counsel, but like I would suspect that you're someone who is seeking education in some way, formal or not necessarily, but someone who's wants some kind of knowledge that will provide them. Well, we could call it enlightenment, but you want to know things. How about that? And then the lovers. And this is a Marseille style deck. And so for those of you who might be more familiar with Rider Waite Smith, which is the most popular, I like Rider Waite Smith too, by the way, but I tend to prefer Marseille. And so lovers is not necessarily about like a love relationship, especially in the Marseille deck. It's more about hesitating or ambivalence, maybe needing to make a choice of some kind. And then the moon, which can be confusion, fear, uncertainty, illusions. So, first 3 cards down, they're all major arcana, and that's significant. Strength. Strength is about overcoming something, maybe struggling with something. Page of Cups. I think of Page of Cups as a dreamer. Um, someone who is beginning some new, fulfilling, emotionally important task or project. The Empress sitting on her throne. The Fool. This is really interesting to see down here, the Fool. Because I think of this space in the lower left of the box is the sort of hidden issue space. And so there's a hidden issue regarding the Fool, which could mean bumbling about and not really sure which way you're going, being naive or innocent about something. Juno, also known as the High Priestess or the Popess, and then 7 Cups. This is a fascinating tableau filled with majors, major arcana. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 9 cards are from the major arcana, which I suppose fits with your question because you're asking about, right, like the major symbolic transformations in the world. What is their relationship to your own personal journey? So I think the best way to read this would be to contrast the cards in the 4 corners with the cards in the middle, right? So the 4 corners, that's the outer context. So those I would take as representing in your question the global transformations that are happening, right? So let's look at those first. Jupiter, the moon, 7 of Cups, and the Fool. This Jupiter here in this context, I think, is telling us about institutions, institutional knowledge, right? Governments, even. And that there's fear and confusion and uncertainty and things hidden, right? The way that this crustacean is hidden from this individual sitting on underneath the moon playing their instrument, right? So the governments of the world are going through a period of great uncertainty where certain things are hidden and are maybe trying to come to the surface, and that's causing heartache. 7s I read in terms of a challenge or trouble, and Cups are akin to the heart, right? So there's a sense of heartache, a challenge for the emotions of the people, and getting ready to set off on something new, right? With a great sense of uncertainty and fear and confusion about what's coming next. So those 4 cards, I think, are describing the global context that you're pointing out in your question, your very interesting question, that there's great fear and confusion in the nations of the world that are troubling their hearts, and nobody really knows what's coming next. We're all naive and innocent when it comes to what the next step is going to be. That's our Fool down here. So let's contrast that with your own, what's structuring your own sort of inner personal journey, as you phrased it. And so for those, we'll look at the center cards. So Lovers, Strength, Empress, and Juno, or the High Priestess, or the Popess. So your current journey is marked by a moment in which you are perhaps hesitating or unsure about what is coming, and there is likely a feeling of choice that needs to be made. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to Cupid up here with their bow. This is saying Cupid is a symbol that you are not in total control of what happens. Cupid will shoot their arrow, and suddenly it will be clear to you the choice that you have to make because Cupid shot their arrow, right? And so you might be feeling like you're in a position where, like, should I go this way? Should I go that way? Should I do this? What is the right thing to do? And suddenly it will strike you from seemingly nowhere, right? The answer, the decision you need to make will be revealed, and you'll know what it is that you have to struggle with. That's strength. So there's something you're going to need to overcome, and it will be revealed to you, or maybe is currently being revealed to you, given that this is in the middle column. You will need to overcome something. You'll need to act in a way that is careful and that involves communication with others. That's how I'd read the Empress, right? She's, regardless of gender, the Empress represents qualities of care and communication. Um, she knows how to navigate her way, sort of in society, right? And it's interesting here to see not only the Empress but also the High Priestess. She has secret, potentially esoteric knowledge. And this is the second time today where we've seen Juno and Jupiter pop up in the same spread. And you all saw me shuffle. I shuffled on camera so you could see it. Uh, and so um, the structure of your own personal journey is going to be one of discovering what it is that you need to overcome, and then overcoming that through care, communication, and secret knowledge, which I would then want to contrast with Jupiter, because the first thing I said when I laid that card down was that it represents like what you want, right? That you want knowledge of some kind. And the difference between these two cards, uh, again, is that Jupiter represents institutional knowledge, or like knowledge that's like available to everyone if they will just read the books and seek it out, right? Juno is secret, esoteric knowledge that not everybody has access to. And so I wonder if there's a way in which your own personal journey is contrasted with what's going on in the world at large, and that you may have an interest in understanding things that the world at large isn't even going to care about or understand. And that is what's um, that is how your personal journey differs or contrasts with what's happening in the world, if that makes sense. So that, I think, sort of answers the question, and we could go into plenty more detail here by looking at the rows and the columns, for more um, unpacking of the whole thing. But, to answer the question of like, what is the relationship between these big global symbolic transformations and your own personal journey? I think it's that these global transformations are about fear and confusion and a total uncertainty about what's happening next, whereas your own path is about finding knowledge that other people aren't going to get or understand or even recognize as knowledge. And you're coming at it in a sense, not in a spirit of fear or heartbreak or confusion, but with strength, right? And prepare in a way that's prepared to care for others and communicate what you have learned to others. All right. So I hope you do listen to it over. It'll be published on my page. I think it takes so many hours to process, but it'll be up there on YouTube by tomorrow, I think. If you want to listen to it again. And I'm at, in case you're curious, I probably started your reading at like the hour and 15 minutes into this live stream, hour and 15 minutes or so. So, okay, let me look at the chat because I haven't been looking at the chat. And then let's see who else is here. Welcome to anyone who might have joined. My name is Will, and I've been doing some free tarot readings. And, I'm about ready to probably end the live stream. I've been going for an hour and a half, and I need to eat lunch. So, if I didn't get a chance to read for you today, I think I'll do like one more. I'll see if I can figure out who would be next on the list. If I didn't get a chance to read for you today, or if I did read for you and you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let's see. Cyan 28 asked, "What's next for me professionally?" I think was the next question after Mark's. Wait. So, are you here, Cyan? And then I also see Anne's Human, you're here. So I could read for you. Why don't I read for you? Anne's Human wants to know what Hecate wants. Okay, what does Hecate want you to know? All right. That I can do in 3 cards. Thank you all for the compliments in the chat. I don't read them out loud because I guess I don't know, self-conscious or humble or whatever, but I do very much appreciate them. Thank you. Okay, Anne's Human. What does Hecate want you to know? First card, 2 batons. This could be a choice. The Emperor. And the Sun. Cool. Okay. Let's look at these a minute. Um, if I was going to put it in one sentence, I would say that Hecate wants you to know that you can make the choice to have stability or control over your own happiness, particularly perhaps with regard to friendships, right? I see that because of the two folks in the sun card down here, and also the two. There's a doubling of twos, the two of batons or rods here, which can also mean like cooperation. It's not just a question of a crossroads or a choice. It can mean like you lay down one of the batons and I'll lay down the other, right? Like you can work with someone else. So you can work with someone else. You can cooperate with someone to choose the path that will take you where you have stability and control and power over your time in the sun, right? Over what's warm and happy and beautiful to you, right? That's the message that I would say you're getting from Hecate through the cards. Um, so, if there's a friend out there who maybe you haven't spoken with in a while, maybe consider getting together with them, right? Um, because another way of seeing this would just be like the emperor is alone, but a whole lot happier when they're with someone else, when the emperor's with someone else, right? And he's looking at the sun shining down. Yeah, okay. So let me look at the chat. Anne's Human was doing a reading for someone, and after that, when no one was there, the sun single-handedly came out twice. You weren't even reading. So the sun card is attracting you right now. It's coming up for you a lot. And yeah, and here it is again, right? Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, you can find the path that will give you power over whatever it is the sun represents to you, right? Like happiness, warmth, illumination. The sun gets rid of shadows. The sun gets rid of the dark, right? This anything that might be hidden, the sun puts light on it. And so, another way of thinking of it there could be you can make the choice. You can choose the path to have the power to uh, bring to the light of day things which otherwise might be hidden. So I hope that's helpful. I think that's a wonderful message to receive, and I hope it's I hope it's well taken. So everyone, my name's Will, and I've been doing some free readings today. I'm getting to the end of my live stream. I need to eat lunch, and I am also just about out of tea here. If I wasn't able to get to you today, if I couldn't read for you today, please consider subscribing to the channel. Or if I did read for you and you liked it, consider subscribing as well. My channel was, um, I hadn't been, I'd been so busy over the summer that I hadn't done any live streams for about 5 months, but I've started to come back to it, and I'm treating it much more casually than I had been in the past, which is making it easier for me to do it alongside my the regular stuff of my life. And so that's how I've been able to sort of fit it back into my schedule is doing it when I'm called to do it and when it fits into my life and when and only for as long as I feel I have the energy. I was doing, 2 and 3 hour live streams before. And then after them, I would just be totally exhausted because it takes a lot out of you. Um, but an hour and a half, that's more my speed. That's more my energy. So if I wasn't able to read for you today, I would love to read for you in the future and a future live stream. And if you subscribe, you'll have an either easier time of seeing when I am live. So, also, thank you so much, Ascending Universal Butterfly, for kind of moderating the chat there for me. Really appreciate that. I'm on my own here, and I look over here to see the cards, and then I have to turn my head to see the screen. And having someone in the chat is very useful. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so everyone, that is going to do it for the Hermit's Lantern today. I wish you all the very best. I hope you have a fantastic end to your weekend and a great week ahead. And I look forward to reading for you again in the future. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Be well.